Hello dear students. Again I have come up with another video for course 20409 Introduction to Educational Research. Today we are going to study about educational research, which is in your subunit 1.2. Here we will see about the concept, characteristics and need of educational research. Now let's begin. So let's see what educational research is. Educational research is the work, is a scientific approach which helps to solve the problems in the field of education. Whenever in the field of education we are stuck with some kind of problem, we try to solve it, and when we solve it using some scientific approach, then we say it that it is educational research. The term also reserved for the activities which are designed to discover the fact and relationship that makes the educational process effective. Whenever in the educational process different activities are taken place and different facts come up from those activities, and we establish relationship between the activities, then the process is known as educational research. According to Travers, educational research represents an activity directed towards the development of an organized body of scientific knowledge about events with which educators are concerned. So educators are concerned with different works in the field of, or different activities in the field of education. They always try to improve their work. They always try to improve in their teaching learning process. So when they try to develop a certain body of knowledge which will help them to develop the process of education with the help of a scientific method, it is known as educational research. According to Whitman, educational research makes contribution towards the solution of the problem in the field of education by scientific and philosophical method. So whenever scientific method and philosophical method is used to solve different problems in the field of education, we say we are doing educational research. What are the different characteristics of educational research? First is it is highly purposive. Research are done mostly when we find some problem, and finding the problem and the gel to find the solution for those problems is very purposive. So when we try to get the answer, we do different work in a purposeful manner. Same way in educational research, whenever we try to find out the problems, the solution of the problems which are there in that field of education, we purposefully do certain changes, certain activities, certain work. That's why we say that educational research is highly purposive. It is done by doing different purposeful activities. It is systematic and accurate investigation. Very systematic, which goes on step by step. We need to continue it according to the steps which are there. Then it is also an accurate investigation where there is a scope, a very little scope for errors, very little scope for committing mistakes. So most of the time researchers are very systematic and accurate. We cannot afford to make mistakes while doing research, because it may lead to different answers which are not desirable or inaccurate answers. So to have accurate measurement, to have accurate answer, to get the perfect answer for our researchers, we need to do accurate investigation, very proper way, systematically done investigations always result into the desirable answers. Educational research is followed in a proper step with logical and objective sequence. As I already said, it is very systematic. So we follow logical steps which are objective, very objectively done. We know what we have to do after what, and there is a proper sequence for it. So we follow the sequence which is there for the research. And through educational research, we gather new data and new informations. And new knowledges are being drawn from the data we gather. From the data, we process it to get the informations, and those informations again being analyzed to draw new knowledge from the data. Organizes it also in the educational research. We organize the raw data so that we can get the information in a proper way. It also emphasizes on the generalization. That means the result can be put forth for larger audience. So educational research always emphasizes on generalization of the result, so that it can be applied to a larger audience. Educational research is also interdisciplinary because it just education cannot sustain by itself, because it is dependent on so many different factors. It depends on the society, it depends on the student, and it depends on the psychological aspects of the student. It depends on the socio-economic condition of the student. It depends on the way the classroom goes on, the way presentations are going on, the way the personality of the teacher. So we cannot confine education into a single bracket or into a singular aspect. It has many facets. So we have to accept that educational research is also interdisciplinary. We just cannot say that I am doing something with teaching learning only, because we have to draw conclusion using different disciplines. That's why it is interdisciplinary in nature. Also, the procedures are not absolute or exact. That whatever procedures are followed in educational research can change according to the context of the research. Circular way always gives to further unexplored question. Actually, in any kind of research, when we complete the research, we try to put forth more recommendation to do different unexplored area related to that question. So that is what it says, that whenever we do research, educational research, at that time we always put forth certain problems which are yet to be discussed or yet to be found out. It is still unexplored, and further some other researcher may explore those work. It requires presence and unhurried attempt. As we all know that in every field of work we need patience. When we lose patience at that time, we tend to make mistakes. So whenever we are doing research, then also we require patience, as well as there should be an unhurried attempt. When we'll try to finish up things in a hurried manner, we tend to make mistakes. We tend to collect data which are sometimes not relevant to our studies. So we need to thoroughly go through each and every step properly with patience, so that we can deliver the proper answers to the proper way, to the questions. and always educational research are done for the betterment of the situation. So it is actually an attempt to improve the situations, improve the uh, process of entire education system. Whatever research is done in education field are always done with an objective to improve the situations, to improve the teaching learning process, to improve the overall education system. Let's see the criteria of educational research. The first criteria is the purpose of research or the problem involved should be clearly defined and sharply delineated in terms as unambiguous as possible. So whenever we are stuck with a problem, there can be many problems, but if we choose a single problem, we need to be very focused for it, and we need to understand that what exactly we want to find out, what the problem is. We need to have a very objective idea about what the problem is and how we are going to solve it. If we have a broad aspects or related to the problem, in that case there is a problem that we may lose our focus from the problem, from the main problem or the center of the problem, and we can go haywire. So it is important that we have to define that what exactly we want to solve. The research procedure should be described in sufficient details to permit the other researcher to repeat the research. As I already told, that the characteristic of educational research is generalization. So now when we want to generalize our research, it is always better that we should apply it in different contexts. So if some researcher wants to apply the same research in different contexts, he or she should do it properly as the first researcher has done. So how can he do it? When he will have proper details related to that procedure. So whenever we do a research, we report it in a very detailed manner, we describe it in a very detailed manner, so that if somebody someday somewhere wants to repeat the research, they can do so. The procedural design of the research should be carefully planned to yield results that are as objective as possible. Research is a systematic study where there is certain planning goes on, where we know after which step we want to do which what. So this procedural design, that when one thing will be introduced, when the other thing will be introduced, how it will go on, when the tests will be taken, how many days gap will be there, all these things should be planned beforehand, so that the result which we will get due to the study will be will be objective. That means it will answer the problem which we have chosen or which we have. The researcher should report with complete frankness even the flaws, what kind of defects were there in their procedure design, and estimate their effect upon the finding. So as a researcher, it is not always true that everything in the research will be in a positive way. Though we optimistically think that it should be positive, but it is not always that everything will go according to what you have thought. There can be flaws, there can be mistakes, there can be different kind of hidden criteria which were being overlooked by the researcher. So whenever the researcher is reporting those things, he should not hide them. He should be very frank when he is reporting them, so that the person who is doing this research further should not should overcome this flaws and should not repeat those mistakes again. Analysis of data should be adequate to reveal its significance, and method of analysis used should be appropriate. So each of the studies, different studies are having different type of data analysis technique, which we will discuss later on. So whenever you are doing a research, you need to understand that what kind of data, what kind of answers you want from your data, so according to that, the method of analysis, that data analysis techniques differs. So there should be a good knowledge of statistical tool also should be kept with the researcher, so that they make lesser amount of mistake during the analysis of the data. Conclusion should be confined to those justified by the data of the research and limited to those from which the data provide inadequate basis. So conclusion of the result of the data, conclusion which are being drawn from the data should be limited to the population only, or from where we have taken the problem. So it should not go beyond the range or beyond the over the population. It should be limited, and it should be justified, that whatever conclusion we have drawn, it should be justified with the evidence of the data which we have already collected. Greater confidence in the research is warranted if the researcher is experienced and has a good reputation in research, and is a person of integrity. So the research, whenever we are doing research, most of the time the researcher who are experienced in the field of research, who are having who have different experience related to research, give good results in a very shorter period of time, because with their experience they have gained a lot of knowledge related to what should be done and how should be done, and then it becomes easy for them to carry on the further research procedure, and it will also give a warranty because of the authority of the researcher over the research, that they will give the proper result. They will produce the result which have less amount of ambiguity in it, less amount of flaws in it. So these are the criteria of educational research. What is the need of educational research? Why should we do educational research? First, to keep the teachers updated and in pace with the change and improvement in the field of education. So whatever things are going on in and around, and the changes which are there for the improvement in the field of education, the teacher should know it, he should implement it. So research is a way through which the teacher can be updated. Also, we will learn that how we can satisfy the stakeholders of the education field. So it gives us an idea that what kind of problems are there and how we solve it, and when we solve the problem one by one, definitely we are going to reach to higher satisfactory level, where we'll have good satisfaction related to the stakeholders in educational field. The teachers will also understand the implications of research. If he will try to find out a problem uh, and the solution of the problem, he will also know that how I'm going to use these answers or these conclusions in my future work. So he understands the implications of the research as well. appreciate the decision made by researcher. So the people who are in and around, who are directly or indirectly involved with the research, appreciate the decisions made by the researcher. Even the teacher can think of possible alternatives reading to the research, that what different things can be done to improve it more significantly. Can judge the quality of conclusion and possibility to generalize. So when the teacher knows about that this kind of research is done, he will also know from his experience that can we use these conclusion in our classroom or not. So there are many researchers which can be used in their own classrooms, so they can use them and they can judge them that what kind of conclusions have been derived in the research, are they giving quality education or they can also, the teacher can also, or this can also do action research whenever it is needed. Every day the teacher faces some or other problem. So they can do action research to solve those problems and document them in a proper way so that they can have benefit related to that as well. So they can do action research if they will have knowledge about educational research. So with that, we have finished this topic. We have studied concept of educational research, characteristics of research, criteria of research, as well as need of educational research. I hope you all have understood. Thank you all and see you in my next video with a new topic.